with Mr. Charles Bertsch.
Charlie Bertsch.
Charlie Bertsch.
Yes.
From Cold Spring, Kentucky. How long have you lived in Cold Spring?
Well, all my life, 93 years, except for times when I was in the Army and when I went to college.
93 years. I had a picture of what I was told was the post office in Cold Spring. Tell me about that post office. What do you know about the post office?
Well, the post office was in the building where I was born, where we lived. And the post office was just one section of the building. As you came in the post office, to the left was the counter and the boxes for the post office. And then to the right was my father was a cobbler. He mended shoes, and in fact, they made shoes from scratch. And he had his little cobbler desk on the right, and then through the center you entered, and then that was entered to the grocery store. And it wasn't a really a country store. It was more or less a delicatessen store where people bought the stuff that they run out of. They needed some extra bread, they needed some canned goods and vegetables, things like that. And that's where we sold the store. So it was just a small store that just kept a couple of the children busy.
You lived in the store, I understand?
Well, lived in the back of the store, yeah. The store was the front of the building, covered the front of the building, the store and the post office, and the back of the building is where it was. I had the living quarters.
Okay. How many children were there?
There were 8.
8?
8 children. And I was a baby.
You were the baby?
And I'm the only one left.
Is that right?
Yes, the rest of them are all dead.
Is that right? So that was more or less a commercial center. Did you have any competition?
Oh, yes, we had one competition about a quarter of a mile up the highway. The southern part of the highway was that was more or less a country general store. It was owned by a man named Riggle. And that was really the biggest store in the Cold Spring. In fact, and then ours was the other store, the competition, which was very little competition. We didn't aim to be any competitor to that. Just let's help the people that needed some little extra groceries.
Right across from that is a big brick house. Tell me about that. Who lived there, and what part did that play in your life?
Well, that was the doctor lived in there. The father was George Reagan, and then his son was Randall Reagan, and they were there. Of course, they assisted in my birth. At that time, the birth mostly was in the home. So the doctors came, and the birth took place at the home. And as I understand it, the doctor and his son Yandel had just received his degree of a doctor, so he was learning the trade more or less with his father when I was born, assisted in my birth. And the building was there before it was building when I was. That was way before my time, I guess, but I know it wasn't built during my lifetime. And of course, that building is now it was remodeled, and then it's now occupied by. I think they take care of. I think dead animals and things like that. They take care of those and. Make oil out of them.
Let me ask you one other thing. Help us to locate exactly where that post office was. What is at that location where the post office was now?
Well, that's where my house is. We tore the whole post office and the grocery store down. That was torn down, and where my house is practically in approximately the same place where the old store was.
All right.
And of course, when it was moved, then it was moved, but the building wasn't moved. They just started the new post office just about a block away from our place.
They just moved the post office.
I guess, yeah, officially it was moved, but there was no building that was changed.
Now, I was very much surprised when I brought up another question, and that was, I asked you if you knew anything about the plane crash in Cold Spring. And you know something about that.
Yes, it was, yeah, we all went over there. We went over there, and this is a part of the plane. See, it never turned over. It was landing, and it was a field, open field, level field, and he landed safely. And before he stopped the plane, though, there was a gutter through there. And the wheels dropped down into that gutter, and then, of course, the plane crashed in. So that ruined the plane. Then you couldn't use a plane anymore. It would have taken too much to rebuild the plane. It was just an old plane anyway. He bought it someplace in Kentucky, I think it was. He was bringing it home. And then the motor died when he was going over there, and that was a level place, so he picked out a good place and landed, except for that ditch in there.
What happened to the motor?
The motor was given to a neighbor there. I don't know, it wasn't on his place. The neighbor lived just not too many feet away from there where the plane landed. And he was glad to get rid of all the parts of it, because it would have cost him to get somebody to tow the plane away or take the parts away. So this gentleman that picked up the motor, and other people's picked up parts of the plane as souvenirs. So the plane was cleaned up in a short time.
So he was flying somewhere.
Yeah, he was taking it home.
And the motor quit.
And the motor, yeah, it stopped.
What made that happen?
Well, they found out later on it was the air filter. The air passages was blocked by a bird's nest and a wasp nest. He didn't check it out very well. So, and then when that clogged up as the plane went, well, it get no more air, and the plane stopped. Motor stopped, and he had to land. So it was just a forced landing, but unfortunately, he hit the wrong place.
You've been in Cold Spring all your life, and I understand you and Al Rust worked together.
Yeah, we worked together for 25 to 30 years. This was all a part-time. See, this was a small city. I think, I don't know at the time of whether it was an incorporated city or not. But it became a fifth-class city. I think it's now a fourth-class city. But we took care of the water. The water main, installing mains, and if there was any water breaks, we took care of them, and then installing the sewer lines. So it was just, at first we were just part-time. He operated. He was a cook at the store in the restaurant. Well.
In Newport, I think.
Newport, in Newport, Monmouth Street in Newport. So, he worked during the day, and he'd come home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I worked at night. I was at that time, I was working at the post office. I was working at night. So he was there during the day to take I was there during the day to take any emergencies regard to the water breaks or anything like that. And then he was there at the night to take care of that. So it was just part-time. We took care of all the sewage and the water department. So that saved the city quite a bit of money, and still they had good service.
You left the store during the Second World War, I understand. You were.
Oh yeah, yes. Yes, I was in the Second World War. In fact, I was drafted before the war started. And then I was drafted in April. Then when they had they had whether you'd, I guess, a choice, you know, you'd, well, lotto-like, they'd pick out which ones went first. And that's one I won that lotto. Every other one I lost, but that's one I won. So I was one of the first ones from our locality that was drafted into the. That was before they even had we lived in outside tents. That's before they had the barracks built. And of course we we were sworn in at Fort Thomas, the old. Fort down at Fort Thomas, and then I and a few others from here we went to Hattiesburg, Mississippi was the first camp that I went to.
I see. How long were you in the military?
3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
Okay.
I was, and I got stomach ulcers.
Is that right?
And so that was discharging them because of the stomach ulcers.
Then you came back home and you met a little girl from Ohio, is that right?
Well, yeah, I worked at the first job, I think, after the Army was Red Top Brewery. And she was in the office, and I was a shipping clerk. And I had to go back and forth to the office, so I met her at the office there. And I kidded her about the name Zeta. I kidded her about the unusual name, and then she told me the history of the Zeta was a saint at one time. So that's how we got introduced, more or less. And that was my doom, or I guess I'd call it one of the best days of my life, I guess, when I proposed to her.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
Oh, gee, 30, wait a minute, 56 years.
56.
56. I was married in 1946. I think that makes it about 56 years.
46, yeah. Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah, that's close, yeah.
All right, sir. Tell me about that highway is pretty busy going in front of your house now. What was it like?
Oh, boy.
When the post office was there?
Well, I'll tell you, the transportation on the highway was about half autos and half horses. All the buggies. The doctor, I know the doctor was at that time he had a horse and buggy, and I think the minister and the priest down at the St. Joe's Church, he had a buggy, horse and buggy, and the way we used to play ball on the highway, we'd hit flies on the highway, knock flies there. And we only had to move out of the highway every now and then. A horse would come through, or a buggy or an auto would come through, and that didn't disturb us too much.
So you've seen a lot of changes in this.
Oh my God! I wish there weren't quite as many changes. I like the old country when we used to go to this cold spring, the springs, when the kids used to go up there and dip the water out of the spring that would bubble up. And they always had a dipper. That spring, that's why I know it was the original Cold Spring, because
Where is that Cold Spring?
that is alongside of the Bunning Lane, and it's
The Maristop store?
right behind that building. Right by there's condominiums back there, and it's right in between two where the back yards of two condominiums meet, right in the backyard, and that still is there.
With the dipper and
Oh yeah, well, when they built the condominiums, they had to pipe it because the water kept running. So they piped the water. There's a creek that's alongside of Bunning Lane, so they piped the water from the spring over to the creek. And there's water running down that creek, so that probably still comes from that original spring. So it was rocked up. It was dug about, I don't know, maybe 5-6 feet deep, and then they rocked it up, and they had a little rock bank there, and that would keep the water in that particular. And then later on, somebody bought the place and they raised cows there and they sold milk. So they used that to cool the milk. They built a little shed over the creek, the water that ran from that spring, and then they set their milk cans in that, so they didn't have to cool the milk in any other way except through that spring. All the water would your teeth would chatter when you'd get the water out of that spring. It was so cold. So that was served actually to preserve the milk there until they could get rid of it.
But you said that spring was bubbling up?
Oh, yeah, it would bubble up and all the time. It would just keep on and flow away. Then at one time, there was a pond below there. It would flow and fill up a pond. But later on, the pond was filled up. But that spring was always there.
But it was well known. It was used.
Oh, yeah. Well, anybody around there used to come and dip water out. I guess some people wanted to say they got water from the cold spring, you know. Well, the subdivision there is called, isn't it, Spring
House?
Spring House, sure. Some of those streets are named after the spring. And then there was another springs down below, right across from, right below the St. Joseph Church parking lot. But that was never used, the people never used to get water out of there. That was used, it was, the spring filled up 2 ponds there. And there was some gentleman named Bertsch. He raised cattle there, and of course then the cattle, we had that water from the spring always to keep the water, have water for his cattle. So, but people never used that spring to dip water out. But up here we did use that spring, and especially the kids that congregated. You know, you get in there and you chase the green frogs off of the. Well, the green frogs, they have something to drink too, you know. So we'd chase them away, and then we did get they had a little nail up there, and you had this little cup there, and you took the cup and dipped and got the water out, drank the water. And I'm still living to 93, so I guess the water was safe to drink.
Good spring water.
Good cold spring water, yes.
Now, I don't know if that's going to put the story to rest or stir things up, because I've read a lot where people are concerned, or have thought about, discussed where is the cold spring, but it sounds like there was a lot of activity right around that spring you're telling me about.
Yeah. I all the people I talked to at that time, they all considered that was cold spring, but they say that that land was donated to, but I can't even think of the man's name from the big explorer from
Boone?
Yeah, they say that was one of his gifts for surveying the country and for leading people through the country. That they was going to give some of that land that was given to him. Of course, he never came up there. He come up there to claim it, but then they just sold the land off. But that's Daniel Boone was supposed to have owned that land where the spring is located.
Now, when did you first hear that story?
Oh, gee, a little bit of kid.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I never checked up on the story whether it was true or not, but that was the rumor anyway.
I have read where Daniel Boone had claim on about 45,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the way he got paid. You know, they didn't pay him in money; they just paid him in land. Okay. And then he sold off the land, and then that's the way he lived.
Charlie, it's delightful visiting with you. And I think we're going to have some more conversations and get some more stories about Cold Spring and things that have happened here. But you've solved several problems. Number one, the plane crash. Number two, where was the post office? As you told me the first time I brought that up, you said, "Oh, that's my house." And then the other thing, the Cold Spring.
Yeah.
Now, that's
where the spring was, yeah. And that's what I was saying. When I was young, that was definitely That was a choice of the people that was the original Cold Spring.
Thank you so much for coming out of the strawberry patch to visit with me today.
I'm glad that you waited until I got on most of the strawberries picked. Now my wife has to, she has to take care of them and clean them. But those berries are good, I'll tell you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm glad that I could help it. My memory is not as good as it used to be, but at 93, what do you expect?
Well, that is,
And you know, I told you that we had a balloon that landed out. Well, that landed right, only about a quarter of a mile from where this plane crashed. And he's coming over there, and that attracted attention. Naturally, he was low, going through the fields, and the rope, they leave down a rope, and the rope was dry, and so he finally got it down, and open field there, and then. We kids all got there, and we rolled up the balloon, He had to get rid of the balloon, so they rolled up the balloon, and then a truck came out and picked it up, and he had sandwiches left, and he had soft drinks that were hot. They passed those around to the kids that helped him roll up the balloon. Yeah, so that was an experience for the kids. First time they saw a balloon, then they all jumped in wanted to get into the carriage there, I don't know, I guess they had some pictures taken, probably the kids stuck in the balloon there.
in the service.
First I went to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and then I was, mostly they used what they call the cadre. They picked out a group of people, and we were training. You were supposed to train them to be tough. In other words, at 2 o'clock in the morning, they would get us out of bed and give us breakfast, and then they give us one sandwich and a little canteen of water, and then take us out in the woods somewhere. And then you were supposed to train you out there, and you were supposed to live on that one sandwich and make that one. And then then after dark, maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night, they come out and pick you up again and take you back. A hard time doing that. I'm a jittery guy,
But on this,
I always got to be moving.
Okay, here we go. All right, we're talking to Charlie Bertsch, lifetime resident of the Springfield,
Cold Spring.
Jennifer, we're starting over there. We're talking to Charlie Bertsch, who is a lifelong resident of Cold Spring. Even before it became Cold Spring, the city, the precinct of Cold Spring was there. But you were talking recently about something that happened in Cold Spring when a bank was robbed. Now let's set the picture. Where Griffin Industries is now, that was
the Dr. Reagan's home and his office, and then directly across from that was the bank, and next to that was a general store, Riggles General Store.
Okay.
And Tim Daly, he was a banker before I ever knew him. And I was, I guess, a little bit of a kid. And he always boasted that they'll never rob him. Well, they didn't. One time they tried to rob him, and they came in, and he said, the man pointed the pistol at him, and he said he reached down under the counter and pulled out a pistol too. Mm-hmm. And he said that scared the guy. He turned around and run out of the door, and Tim Daly followed him with his big hat, one of these old-time pistols, it was a barrel about 1.5 feet long. And he said, I saw him, he ran out, I was right behind him. He said, and he's getting in his machine, and he said, I knew I should have shot him, but I couldn't pull the trigger. So he got away. And that was the last time anybody ever tried to rob Cold Spring Bank. Right. And he was, I think he was till the bank closed up. I don't know how many years, 60 years maybe he was He was a teller. He was everything. A teller, the loan. He, gave out the loans, and he examined your credit and all that. And at that time, I can see at the bank yet that it says interest paid 1%.
Interest 1%.
1% interest on savings.
And now that is the building that's there now. Was it there at that time? It's a television repair. No.
Well, that was, it's a kind of remake of the old store. They used part of the old Wriggle store.
I see.
It was most of it was torn down, but they used part of it. But then the bank was right alongside of it, and the bank was torn down.
Okay, and the
And
bank.
at that time, we had no bank. Of course, there was other banks down in Highland Heights then,
Okay.
but there was no more Cold Spring. And now there is, again, a Citizens Bank in Cold Spring.
Yeah. And you were, how old were you when that bank robbery took place?
Well, that's, I guess in high school, I guess maybe 16 years old or something like that.
Do you recall what how the community reacted to that when they came into your store?
Oh, well, that was the talk of the town for a while. They always said, well, Daly said he wouldn't be robbed. And he wasn't robbed. And they just couldn't understand why they didn't shoot the guy. And Daly's, he lived in Dry Ridge, way over in Dry Ridge. And he used to come out there and spend the board out here during the week, and then he'd go home on weekends. And his favorite pastime was they played the what do they call that, tennis, on the ground, where you hit the ball through.
Croquet?
Croquet.
Oh.
They had big bets. They had big bets. Wriggle and all the guys around there. That was their big thing, to play that croquet. Every night they were out there playing that croquet. And that was the wildest thing that happened, I guess, at that time. The big bets that went on, a quarter, 50 cents,
Okay. Now, they play this, during banking hours?
Oh, no.
Okay.
This was in the evening.
I thought it was kind of
because
slow.
he stayed over. He boarded somewhere, and he stayed over, and that was after banking hours. And they go in and eat their lunch, and then play. Then maybe early Saturday they might have played something, but usually he left. He worked till noon. The bank was open till noon, and then he went back to his own home where he lived out in Dry Ridge.
And how did he get here? Was it?
Well, gee, I don't know. That was way before my time.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was a banker when I went up there, when I met him.
Is that right? Okay. Let's talk about one of your friends and co-workers for a number of years. Al Rust was the first superintendent of public works, and you were the assistant.
Yes, he was. I went to school with him. That's how I knew him, and it was only part-time work. See, Al was a cook. He was a cook in a restaurant that that was a restaurant on Mama Street. All the people knew that Rust's restaurant, the Mama Street, a very known restaurant. And he was the chief cook and bottle washer down there. And he would work during the day, and then at night. Then Saturdays, he was off on Thursdays and Saturdays. He worked on Sunday, I think. He was off on Saturday. And then he would do his work at the city when he was on the off days. And that's what I say, it was only part-time. Of course, he got off. He went in about 2 o'clock in the morning, so he got off about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So he had quite a bit of time each day. And then one time, when he was at that time we were, the city was starting to grow, and we were putting water services in the different new houses. Well, some of the houses never had water. My house never had water until the city came out, and it was started to WPA work. It was all dug by hand. There was water went down, it was 4 to 5 feet deep.
That was after the Depression days, right?
That was during the Depression days, before the war, see.
Okay.
And then it was not completed. the waterworks was not completed before the war broke out. So then WPA was quit. So then they had they finished it. They hired a regular company to finish that then during the war then. But that's when the first time the Cold Spring had water. At that time, they didn't have gas then, no. They had, we were lucky. We lived right across where the church property is now. The big main line, the white gas line from West Virginia goes to Cincinnati through that territory. So
now we're talking about St. Joseph's Church.
St. Joseph's Church in the back where the ball field is. So this man, Adam Simon, he said, well, this gas line is running through my place. Why can't I get gas out of it? So he finally got the company, and they said, yeah, we'll make a tap if you get so many people. So the neighbors around there, Kroger's, Simon's, myself, and a couple other neighbors then, he tapped it, and then he run a line and then served those neighbors. So we were the only one, about 4 or 5 or 6 houses, the only one that had gas in the city of Cold Spring until years later when the gas line came out from the city, from Cincinnati Gas and Electric Company. So we were kind of lucky. But when I was a kid, we had no gas, no water, and no inside plumbing. And oh boy, and cold weather, man, that was tough. You didn't waste too much time, I'll tell you that. Really, when I think about it, we were underprivileged. Nowadays, we were considered underprivileged. We had none of that. We had nothing like that. The outdoor plumbing, water you got from a cistern or a well. And by the way, I have a well in my front yard that's covered up.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, it's covered up, but it's a well. It's 20 to 30 feet deep, and it's rocked up with rock, just ordinary, rock.
Right in your
but
front
you
yard.
could get down there. When we were every 5 or 6 years, we would put you had to get a deep double ladder. You could go down there, and we would kind of clean it out. And what it was, there's a spring line. That's why it's called Cold Spring. There's a spring line, that runs by Bunning Lane there. It runs through my place. It runs down behind where the doctor's building is. Those were all springs in there.
Is that right?
Yeah. And then when I went down when we put the ladder down, and it was a solid rock down there at the bottom. And then they had a drill. They drilled a hole through that rock, and the water would bubble up through that rock. And then that was our well, and that's what happened everywhere. That's what it was, Cold Spring. And they just had the Cold Spring, near Bunning Lane, behind the convenience store there.
Yes,
They had it. It was only dug down about 5 or 6 feet, but they had walled up with rock, about 3 or 4 feet in diameter, and the water would bubble up through there, and then it would just had a little waterway there and roll up, would just seep away then.
Now let's get this located. Your house located right across from St. Joseph's Church.
Yeah, right.
Across the street. That's where the well was, and also that was it the time that the post office was there?
The well was there when I was born. I don't know who put the well. We didn't put the well in. It was there when my dad bought the house. I was in 1890. And that was also when I built the house. I moved the house back a little bit, so at that time the well was under the front porch of the house.
So the building, the picture that we have of the old post office, that was your house.
Yeah.
And the well was under the
porch. But see, that house had been moved back from the house was closer to the road. And that was moved back from the road when they won. See, at first time it was only a 2-lane highway.
I see.
They made it a 4-lane highway, and they moved our house back some from that. And then before that the well was in the side yard. So when we moved it back, it was under the porch then. But right now, it's when I build a house where the process would move back, and it's in my front yard now.
Right. So the
well is.
where the old house
Yeah.
and the post office was.
Yeah,
That was the space where your present house is built.
Yeah. It's just
So ultimately, it was moved again. When they built the road, it's moved back.
Yeah, moved back a little.
But then eventually, you moved it back.
Yeah.
And built a house over the same
Yeah,
property.
right.
And the well is in your front yard
Well,
now?
it's still in there. It's just covered up with cement, and then there's the ground over top because you can't see it. It's grass over top there now.
In that time, the names Bertsch and Rust were real well known. Tell me about Al Rust's family, and how was it that he was involved in so much at the very beginning of the city?
Well, listen, there's so many people related. But they married into, not in relationship, but they knew each other. My brother married the girl across the road. You knew him. See, otherwise, how did you meet people? There was bus service, I believe, later on, twice. Oh, the bus used to deliver mail, too. It carried passengers and delivered mail.
And one of your sisters married the bus driver.
My brother married a sister across, but so many of them married people that they knew, the people from Cold Spring. That's why everybody knew. You knew Rust, you knew Riggles, you knew them. That's what I say. It's people you married, mostly people you know, and that's why everybody knows each other. Too much so.
And when the area that at that time that was became Cold Spring, the city.
Yeah.
It was a small area. About how many people lived in the city?
I don't know.
I've heard a number.
A couple hundred or something, maybe something. We see Cold Spring include the Highland Heights. What they called Cold Spring, it wasn't unincorporated though.
That's right. It was the entire region was called the precinct, Cold Spring precinct.
That's right. It went to Fort Thomas. It ran as far as Fort Thomas and almost up to Alexander. See, that's been cut off. Highland Heights was cut off, and Alexander was cut off partly. It runs down to.
But Highland Heights became a city.
Most of it, practically all of it was in the city of Cold Spring.
So
there wasn't the city then, in the village of Cold Spring, or whatever you want to call it.
So when you start looking for people, for workers, and to take over the positions, a small population, small number of families.
Yeah, you almost
and the
knew
Rust family
everybody.
and the Bertsch family and the.
You went to school, either you went to the Catholic school or the public school, and everybody knew each other. You walked to school, it had no school buses. You walked to school, and some kids came miles, they walked miles out from school, and there was no high school. I think there was 2 years of high school where the public school is now on Cold Spring, East Alexander Pike, and then I think it was. My brothers went to the 2 years. And that's mostly what you got. Most kids only went to grade school and didn't bother to go to high school.
So you and Al went to school together.
Yeah, we went to school. Yeah, knew each other, knew the family, and that's how those people got together. The people that knew each other, and the people that maybe wanted to. Like to take over something like that. That's why it was the Riggles and the Dailies and the Rust and my dad wasn't so much into it because they were busy at the store. So, but it was just people that knew each other. And they sort of took over.
And so when Al was appointed the director of public works, then he came to.
They were building that. Building the house right across from me, Stefan's house. Okay. And he was by himself building. All he did when he needed somebody, he'd get somebody who was out of work and would help him. So he sent me out. I was out in the front yard when he was digging across there, and he says, "Hey, I'm having awful trouble getting this thing across the road." He said, "You help me." I didn't know I was going to be hired or not, I was going to be paid or not. So
Well, now,
yeah.
this was Al that asked you to help?
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
was. Yeah, he was doing the work there. He was the only
He
one
was
there.
he was the superintendent.
He was, oh sure, he was
he was the
superintendent
boss.
of everything, and he also did all the work, except when he could hire somebody like. So then,
So you can say that almost by accident, because you were out in your front yard
Oh,
and he was
sure.
working across the road. He said, "Charlie, would you help me with this?"
yeah,
And you became assistant
yeah.
superintendent.
And then after we
Became
got
a
the
two-man operation.
yeah, then after we got the work done, he says, "Well, will you help me when I need help?" I says, "Yeah, as long as I'm here." And see, that worked out good. At that time, we were both working. I worked at the post office, and I was working the night. I didn't go to work till 4 o'clock. He went to work at 2 o'clock in the morning. He got off about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I was there during the day when he was working. When I went to work, he was there. So they didn't have to hire anybody permanently. We just worked in. And then when the bigger jobs, when they had to work together, why, he was off on Thursday and Saturday. I was off on Saturday. And then Thursday, I would work a half a day with him. And that's how we put most of the services, all the, like, the Madonna subdivision there, they must have 200 houses or something in there now. We put all those services in there.
Did you really?
Yeah, oh yeah, we did. And all by hand, dig the hole. I did most of the digging because I was just, Al had trouble with his legs. So I did most of the digging. Oh, Lord, I was quite, they called me Charlie the Mole.
Charlie the Mole. You dug the way for the pipes to go in.
Yeah, well, then whenever I was there with him, then we'd lay all the pipes, and I sort of said we'd push that rod across and pull it was across the road. We'd pull the copper across the road and made the connection. We had to dig down to the main, tap the main, and then make the connection, and then put the meter. The meter, they're all outside. They're all outside. We'd run the meter over into the property of the owner, and then we put the meter in, and then that's the way when you read the meters, and they were all aside. You didn't have to go into anybody's basement to read the meters. But that's the way it went for years and years. That's what I said. I started. I worked over 25 years. It's all part time with him, and I don't know. I don't know how long Al worked. He worked until he just. Oh, I tell you what, he couldn't drive an automobile anymore.
I see.
And that's when Al would have never quit. But listen, Al was very, very clever. He never went to high school, but he was clever, very intelligent, very, uneducated, just uneducated, self-education, you might say.
Self-education, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Tell me about the people of Cold Spring that you've seen come and go over the years. It's a lot bigger now than it was when you started.
Listen, we used to know everybody. We used to know everybody who lived in Cold Spring. And either you knew them you went to school together, or church, whatever it is. You knew everybody. Well, see, my father, we had a store. It was more or less a convenience store. Just people bought stuff there when they run out of something, meat and bread and stuff like that. It was just a small store, and the post office was located in the store. My brother was a postmaster when, I was a little bit of kid when he was. See, there was 21 years difference between me and my brother.
Is that right? Oh.
And when he got married, then my sister took over. She was a postmaster.
That was Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth, right.
Okay.
She was the older, Frank was the oldest son, and Elizabeth was the older. And then when Elizabeth didn't want to take care of it anymore, then it was moved. The place wasn't moved, just, the post office. What do you call it? I guess the charter of the post office was moved up where the blacksmith shop was. They built a little house there alongside of the blacksmith shop with blacksmith and a horseshoe. Oh, that was the greatest kids. Everybody wanted to watch the shoe the horses, you know. Oh, that was quite entertainment for the kids, and we enjoyed it when they had a wild horse, and you'd have to lift up the horse's leg, you know, and hold the left leg. He took the old shoe off and nailed another shoe. You heated it in the. There's a forge there. You heated it, and then you tried that hot shoe on the horse, and then evidently they don't feeling, and there's no feeling in the hoof because the horse didn't bother. And then they try that shoe on that hoof so they could figure so it would fit flat, you know. And then maybe you'd have to come back and heat it again and pound on it. That's why that pounding on the shoe. And then they get a wild horse and didn't want to stand still. That was entertainment. See that horse jumping around.
That was just about a block from where you live.
Oh yeah, just a block up. Right.